Hey there, welcome into the next day of the 100 days of rebirth. And honestly, the word for me is quiet. Quiet. I really haven't had too much to say to y'all in these daily uploads, probably the last like 3 days. Um, but I can give you the recap of one good thing that happened today, just being complimented on telling the story of a group of young people and showing up for them and giving my time and talking with them and just sharing with them what I do and letting them peek into my world and show what the possibilities are. And sometimes we can take for granted the things that we do every day that don't cost us very much, but would show the next generation or the next person what's possible just by you being you and showing up and doing you in front of people who are watching. Like sometimes people will watch what you do more than what you actually say. They'll watch how you live and how you show up more than what you instruct them to do. Like they're paying attention to you, like the lived embodiment experience of you. So I think one of the things that I experienced today that I forgot is like it's really easy to get caught up in everything you have going on and all your goals and your achievements and all the things that are important to you that we can forget the power of. I guess I'm thinking about back when I wanted to be a journalist way back in high school. It was really out of the motivation of like, I didn't see too many people doing it and that looked like me doing it. And I felt in high school the representation was so important. And I guess looking back on it, I had a lot of words back then too. but um, I think representation is so important and being able to see, a native person, being able to see a Hispanic person, being able to see a Latina, being able to see an Afro Latina, being able to see a Brazilian, being able to see whomever, a Ghanaian, being able to see a Nigerian, being able to see an Ethiopian, Eritrean, being able to see wherever you're from, being able to see that type of person in front of your screen, it matters. And it matters. And I think it shows people who feel like they may not have all the options. It shows them what's possible and that there are options and that there are opportunities. And so I think that that was something really, I guess, I don't want to say low hanging fruit, but that's what I mean. Like low hanging fruit to show up and to realize that you do have something to offer. I feel like it's easy in today's world, like, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just easy to tell yourself that like nobody cares. It's easy to tell yourself like, girl, don't nobody care. But being able to see today that it matters and that people do care and that yeah, just the presentation matters. So wherever you are, whatever career field you're in, or even if you are doing your own thing, you're being an entrepreneur, you matter and your experiences matter, your successes matter, no matter how big or how small you think they are, they matter. Someone came up to me after I spoke and talked to me about marketing and my background in that and how I've worked for clients and different things like that and had this location independent lifestyle. And, you know, I'm not somebody who's made $100 million doing it, but, being however many steps ahead of that person who's, still in high school, they were able to be like, oh my God, it's possible. It's possible. Like my dream that I'm desiring to do is possible because she's already done it. She's done it and now she's on to the next career. Like, you know what I mean? So that was really interesting to me. And also just interesting to see that there's so many people interested in marketing. There's so many people interested in, contributing to that field and, having their chance to be a part of that in business and that kind of thing. Just, it was also interesting because I don't feel like nobody was interested in journalism or they felt the one question somebody asked me was like, do you ever get nervous being live or being in front of the camera? And how precious of a question to ask because when I first started, I was the type of journalist that I remember in grad school, I would like pull the earpiece out of my ears and pull the microphone off because I was like, I could wear the face of calm, but I was so nervous on the inside to even like read the teleprompter and all the things. Thinking back on it, I'm like, I didn't wear glasses reading the teleprompter back then. And fast forward to like so many years later, I do wear glasses to read the teleprompter. So like, interesting. Hmm. Yeah. I really got to think about that. Anyway, tangent. Um, and I think when I first started, I was nervous. I was. And sometimes I just wanted to be over quick, like let's get it and get it done. And now, being able to do it, I don't know, like it's nice to have someone look at you and attribute like a confidence to something that you remember how nervous you felt and how inadequate you felt. I was the girl that, grew up in the inner city of a city in California, and I believed that I could be a journalist. And, I didn't, nobody in my family had done it. I hadn't seen it done. I didn't know how to do it. Like I went to grad school, I went to undergrad, college. I went to college for 4 years. I was even in a student club for journalism, broadcast journalism, and I still graduated. I never even knew what a reel was. Like I was actually producing stories for student campus news, and I still didn't know, like, oh, you need to put a reel together. This is how you apply to TV stations. Like I had no idea, had no clue what to do, none. I was even a student member of the Association of Black Journalists. And while I was a student member, I don't really remember learning at the time, like what I need to do to actually get these jobs. I knew I needed to network, and that's why I was a part of the thing, the club or whatever. But I didn't know how to actually, I remember graduating and being like, okay, so like, how do I get a TV job? Like, I just didn't know even how to do it. So to go from that girl who had a dream but didn't know, and then just found herself unrelentingly pursuing it and going after it. I guess it's easy to take for, especially like all the setbacks in the world events and COVID and all the things, like all the things that happened that were just so unprecedented, on top of like, applying a crazy number amounts of jobs and like getting no offers when I first graduated. It took me a year to the day, literally 365 to the day. I think I got an offer on 364 and then 365, like something like that. It was like a year to the day that I graduated from grad school. So I had so many years after undergrad, I still didn't know how to work in news. And then I worked in radio, but I didn't know how to get to TV. And then I went back to school so I could try to get to TV. And it took me a year after that to even get into TV. So it's just like, man, the journey has been a journey. And I guess through all the ups and downs, maybe it's easy to take for granted, like, I don't know, like I said, just when I got asked the question about how are you like, not nervous? And I'm thinking, wow, you attribute me to be not nervous on air. And it's like, well, I guess to a certain degree I'm not anymore. So really God, Yahweh, straight up. Um like for real. It's even by God's grace that I'm even in this career field again, because I left it, and I left it with offers on with an offer on the table, and God has been so good and gracious to bring that offer back again to me, and I'm grateful for that. And yeah, so I guess that's the update for day. I think it's 59. I can't believe we're approaching day 60 of the 100-day rebirth. But if you're watching this, maybe I'll title it something with like, you know when you finally look up and see how far you come, really, because quite frankly, somebody else saw it on me, that it even helped me. I guess you're so busy doing it that you don't realize that, like, oh, I'm doing it. And you don't realize how far you've come. You don't realize that once upon a time, I was sitting in that seat and it was a dream. Honestly, broadcasting wasn't even a dream. I used to want to do print journalism. I was a high school sports journalist for the newspaper, the sports editor for the newspaper. And I used to go to games with my little notepad and my pen and my paper, and I used to write. And like those are the things that I was excited about doing. And I had no concept of being on TV. I thought it was important, but I didn't even, when I first started out, I had no concept of that. And it was Danya Bacchus. I always remember, if she ever watches this, somebody sees this and shares it with her. It was Danya Bacchus, who was at NBC San Diego when I was in college. So fast forward from high school to college. And the church that my mother was a part of, their son wanted to work in media. So somehow he had got a connection with the lady Danya Bacchus at NBC. And they invited me to go on a tour of the station because um, they knew I was in college going after media. And so they were nice enough to invite me. So I went and I got to tour the studio at NBC San Diego. And Danya Bacchus asked me, well, what do you want to do with journalism? And I was like, well, I think if I was to work in TV, I'd probably be a producer because I like to write. And she was like, okay, that's great. Like, we always need producers and people who, are crafting and telling the story. And she was like, but you have a look and you can be in front of the camera. She was like, not everybody can. She was like, you can go both ways. She was like, not everybody can go both ways. So use it to your advantage. It's available to you type thing. And for someone who was on TV, I guess I associated her with being beautiful and like worthy enough to like, I don't know, tell me that I could do it. So if she said I could do it, then obviously, like, I could do it. I don't know. That's how it felt at the time. And so it planted a seed in me that grew to now a weekend anchor, and it has its lows, honey. It does. It has its lows. Um, but it's in moments like that one that kind of show me like, okay, somebody else looking at you is attributing a level of mastery or excellence to what you're doing. And I just know I used to sit in that seat looking at somebody else. And I wasn't even in the seat looking at somebody else because I ain't had nobody to look at. I was unrelenting about putting myself in rooms so I could learn how to do what I'm doing right now. And there's still other dreams that I have that, you know, I've been unrelenting about, well, how do I do that? And how do I do this? And how do I do that? And I guess when you face all the ups and downs that come with your path, it's easy to throw in the towel. And to be honest, I did throw in the towel 5 years ago when I stepped away. And so that's why it's just such a miracle and such a blessing to be back in this career field after 5 years of not being in the career field. And somehow I feel like I haven't lost a beat. Like, I listened back to the stories, and I know this maybe, hopefully, y'all are learning something from this with be being reflective right now. But I look at my stories and stuff, and I'm like, wow, I sound like a journalist. Okay. I look like a journalist. Okay. Like, the most valuable thing is when people in the community tell me, like, we can see your passion for this, like your joy comes across, or like we can tell that you care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like people have to say that to you. And so every time someone shares that with me, I hear them, and they're seeing something come across from how I am interacting with them, how I'm showing up with them. There's something that's coming across that feels real and feels tangible. And it is real. It is tangible. I'm not faking. And sometimes I just tell people like, "Oh, I'm not like other journalists. Like, I'm not gonna come drill you with a bunch of questions. Like, I like to have a conversation with you and see like what I learn from you, and then what I learn, I ask questions. Like, that's my style." And I've been around other reporters who don't do that. They just ask the drilling questions because they want to be the hard nosed reporter. And maybe there's times for that, um, but I don't know. Quite frankly, that's my style. And I think there's room for what's for you, so it's not been easy, but I think I'm starting to see a silver lining of like, hey, the work that you're doing matters, and like, don't give up. And actually, that's something that a young boy said today. He was like, I would share with the voters, like, don't give up. Like, he's 16 years old and he can't vote in the elections this year. And he's like, but I would tell adults, don't give up. Like, vote with the future, vote with me, 16-year-old in mind, like, vote understanding that I'm going to be inheriting the future that you're voting for now. That's why it matters. It matters. Somebody fought for you to have the right to do that, to vote with me in mind, to try to make a better world for what I'm coming up under, and or what I'm going to inherit. And he's right. He's right. And I think it's easy to get so caught up in like, our financial responsibilities, life events, whatever hasn't happened yet that you want to happen sooner. Like, it's easy to get so caught up in that. But the point is, when you look back over your life, that you can see that you've progressed and that you've moved forward. And when you look back over your life, have you progressed and moved forward in a way that you're proud of? And can you see your growth? And it's not about the praise of men or women. It's not about that. But I think in the question I got today, it helped me see, like, I can see how this person's looking at me. Oh, snaps. I've grown. I think it was that reflective moment. And so if you're watching this and you are frustrated or you want out or it's hard right now, I want to encourage you, like the young man told me today, don't give up. Don't give up. You know, it matters what we do. It matters, that as long as it matters that we have healthy marriages. Let me say it like that. It matters that we have healthy marriages. It matters that the father's in the home. It matters that the mother's in the home. It matters that we're sober and aware. It matters that, we're putting a standard for our children. I interviewed a young lady yesterday who's like an all-star. She's getting her associate's degree before graduating high school. I know that's not unique, completely a unique story, but it's still an amazing story. And she's just like so talented, right brain, left brain talented, like just brilliant, her and her brother. And their parents held a standard. You will be a straight A student. You will be, like, they created this atmosphere and spoke life over them. And even though challenges arose in her lifetime with her father getting ill and different things happening, like, her and her brother still rose to the occasion. They still met the goal. They still, you know and I really believe it's because of the stability of having mom and dad there. You know what I mean? So it's not to say that if you don't have that, you can't be great. You can. I just think that I'm trying to drive the point that it matters. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that are worth embracing. I was going to say enduring, but enduring kind of has this negative connotation of like grueling it out. But I kind of like embrace, because you can embrace something that's tough and difficult, knowing that it's not going to last always. Like, let me embrace this challenge, knowing that the sunshine is coming, like that darkest hour is right before the sun breaks through. Like, the water could look like it's not boiling, but the difference between boiling water and not boiling water is 1 joule. I remember learning that in science class. 1 degree, 1 joule, 1 degree, and then it's boiling. So, like, that's all it takes to pop. That's all it takes to one day be sitting in the seat where people are like, no, you're accomplished. And they can see it. And you're like, oh, wow, I've come a long way. 1 degree, right? But like, you gotta stay on the fire. The boiling water is a good example. Sometimes you gotta stay on the fire. That's just the only way to get there. So embrace that process, knowing that you're being transformed and being made new. So that's what I would share with you. And if I guess maybe if we can, myself included, if I can think of it more like that, then I can embrace instead of resisting or trying to, like, free myself. Um, I could see the growth in it all and the power in being able to inspire, shed light, positive light, and be a voice, especially for communities, and tell stories for people who maybe feel like they don't have one, or they've been ignored, or, you know what I mean? So it matters. I guess all in all, I'm learning that it matters. So wherever you are, whatever career you find yourself in, you being there is powerful. You being there is powerful. And yeah, I hope that encourages you. It encouraged me today. All right. Until next time. Ciao.